This episode of Pitch List is brought to you by Screened Threads. Screened Threads is a family-owned business specializing in Nashville curated gifts. Check them out online at screenedthreads.com or visit them in person at Marathon Village. Hey everybody, Chris Lindsay here, and you're listening to Pitch List. Join us on a deep dive into the heart of what makes writing songs and making music so magical. Let's find out what makes songwriters tick, and along the way, remember why we love music. Welcome to Pitch List. Before we start the show, I have some news about Pitch List. After today's show, we are going on hiatus. At this point, I can't tell you when we'll be back, but I know in my heart we will. For now, I'd like to say thank you. Thank you for all your kind words. Knowing that you are out there and that you like the content has fueled me from the very beginning. My mission has never wavered, to bring you a real ground-level glimpse into the song business. And I think that's best done by conversation, because writers are as diverse as snowflakes. And I've also tried to show you that success comes from committing time and love, nothing else. I hope to have demystified a few things and shown you that this is anyone's ballgame. This last year, I did not continue my last publishing deal. I had hit the wall. 25 years. My love for music and the people in it propelled me for 25 years. Through ups and downs, years without a hit, years with surprise cuts, and even a single just when I thought I might be done. It's been an amazing, fantastic, terrible, magic ride. And I'm not sure when, but I woke up one morning and realized I was burnt to a crisp. For the first time in my whole life, I wasn't excited to clock in for a writing appointment. For a while, a new dream had begun to creep into my consciousness. Truthfully, it was an old dream. When I was 25 and playing bars in Texas, I got fed up and quit music. I moved to LA to be a screenwriter. I lived there for about 5 years and made some progress and some great friends, some of whom have gone on to major Hollywood careers. Cut to the present. For a year now, other than Pitch List, I have devoted all my time to screenwriting, and life is strange. So, I'm off on a new adventure, but I suspect that after a good long break, me and music will start to date again, maybe even move in together. We'll see. I don't want to rush it. I hope this isn't too much information, but bottom line, Pitch List is going on a slow simmer. We're not shutting it down, just taking a break. Daena is hard at work on her next record, which is awesome, by the way. And I promised her that I wouldn't make any promises about a return date for the show, but I know we'll be back, so stay tuned. And I couldn't finish out without saying a word about Daena. Bottom line, Pitch List would not exist without Daena. She is the engine that drives this train, and I could never thank her enough for her work that she has put in and the genuine love she has for this show and the listeners. Thank you, Daena. I can't believe I was lucky enough to find you, and I know we will work together some way, somehow, for a long time. Until then, go write your asses off. Swing for the fences. Do the wrong thing. Freak people out. Write what others are afraid to write. Set your muse free and hold on tight. Blast through your inhibitions and doubts. Burn the bad blueprints you got from your family and society and write new ones, good ones, crazy great ones. Don't wimp out on me. God made you perfect. Give it every damn thing you have. When I started this podcast 5 years ago, our guest today was my target, my Mount Everest. She is the definition of female country music for her generation, cutting hit after hit and selling out arenas all across America. All the while pulling off an impossible feat, recording songs with substance and meaning and making them massive hits. And as good as she is as an artist, she's an even better person. She currently has an exhibit running at the Country Music Hall of Fame called Martina McBride, The Power of Her Voice. I'm so happy she's here. Here's Martina McBride. Good morning. Chris Lindsay here on Pitch List. The day is finally here. We've got a guest we've wanted for a long time. A special guest, and I'm going to say this, I don't want to jinx this, but I think this is going to be one of the best Pitch List guests ever. Okay? Before I say your name, I'm going to read off a few things. 5 most played female country artists of the past 20 years. 23 million albums sold. 20 top 10 country singles. 6 number 1 country singles. 15 major music awards. 14-time Grammy nominee. And there's another one, which is 4-time CMA Female Vocalist of the Year. If you haven't guessed, we have Martina McBride. How are you, Martina?
Hey, I'm great.
Thank you so much for being on Pitch List.
My pleasure. I've been wanting to do this for a while, so I'm glad we worked it out.
I'm glad we worked it out. And as we were talking about before we started recording, we are in person, which is fantastic.
Yes.
The Zoom thing is great, and it got us through the pandemic, but we were discussing that it's so much better to be in person.
It really is. There's just an energy that you can't really get over Zoom.
Yes.
And a connection.
Well, as you know, we are a songwriting podcast, so I'm going to try to split this in 2 things.
Okay.
I have a lot of artist questions. Now, I've known you for a long time, and I know a lot about you, but I have dug in and found some things that I didn't know about, and we'll get into those. But also, just to let you know, most times when you're interviewed, you're coming at it from the artist's point of view. I'd like to talk about songs too.
Okay, sure.
Is that okay?
Of course.
And we'll kind of split it in 2. So I'm going to start with we'll start with the artist stuff. You've got 2 recent records out, right? White Christmas, and then it's the greatest hits, the double vinyl. Here's my question.
Okay.
Both of them are on vinyl.
Right.
Talk to us about that. How did you make that decision? And I think that's so great, by the way.
Yeah, well, I love vinyl.
Okay.
It's how I was raised, you were raised, listening to vinyl records. And so when I was a little girl and dreaming of having a record deal or I didn't even know what that was, but wanting to make records, I pictured holding my vinyl in my hands, right? When I got signed with RCA, vinyl was out, CDs were in, so I never really got to do that. And so, we just decided to make these 2 albums available on vinyl. And for me, it's such a thrill because, we went and mastered it differently for vinyl. We mastered it for vinyl. I learned a lot about pressing records, which I didn't know about. And just being able to hear, like, for instance, Whatever You Say or This One's for the Girls on vinyl is such a thrill for me, Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I've known that you and your husband, John, you guys have a great record player and stereo.
Yeah.
And we were over there one time and we all sat down and listened to some records. And I hadn't listened to a record player in so long. And it's magical.
It is.
If anyone listening, I'm sure you've listened to vinyl, but if you haven't, or if you're not really taking time to do it, it's such a great experience.
It is. It's a warmer sound. I feel like sometimes it's more emotional, the music, listening to it on vinyl, especially if you have a really great, setup, turntable, needle, all that. I even have a turntable in my kitchen.
Wow.
It's like, I just love to put on new records, old records. I'm so thrilled that new artists are printing, vinyl records so we can enjoy the new stuff. Yeah.
Well, I know you and your husband own the premier studio in Nashville. And probably the world.
Thank you.
You are a more technology-forward artist than most artists. So when I'm hearing you talk about making the record and you're involved with actually cutting in the acetate and all that stuff, do you think that environment of Blackbird Studios has sort of helped you be a more technical person, or were you always a technical person about recording?
A little bit of both. I mean, I was always very involved in making my records, and even from the get-go, I was like, I didn't know anything about making a record when I first started. I had never been in a studio or just been in small ones in Kansas. But, Paul Worley was my producer for a long time and was really generous, and when it came to making records, about explaining things to me. I learned pretty much all I know about making records from him, and so but I was very curious and wanted to be really involved in that stuff, and so he took the time to explain things. And then having Blackbird, I think more than having Blackbird is being married to John.
Right. Right.
So being married to a sound engineer, both live and in the studio, it's just kind of, it comes up a lot. I've learned so much from him about microphones and about compressors and all of the things. So that's been really helpful for me.
Yeah, as I hear you talk, I get it. You could not live with John McBride and not absorb audio geekdom.
Yeah, exactly.
He's the head audio geek of the world.
Yeah.
His and your collection of vintage mics, compressors, EQs, I don't think anyone has it, right? It's the biggest in the world, right?
Probably. He's kind of I don't know whether to call him a collector or a hoarder, but it's maybe somewhere in the middle there. But it's like, he loves gear. And it's great for me because if I hear a sound on a record, like if I hear a drum sound that I love, or I hear a delay on a vocal, I can say, "Hey, can you listen to this? What is that?" And he can tell me what it is, right? So it's like it's like being married to, I don't know, like a little guru. Like I can ask any question and say, "I really love this vocal. I love this vocal tone. I love the air in the vocal. Let's see, can we get more toward that sound?" And he's like, "Sure."
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes total sense. If you hear something on a record, you're like, I love that. You guys can kind of store that in the memory banks. And when it's appropriate for what you're working on, you do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. John, we could do a whole podcast on John.
I know. You should have him on.
I want to, and I'm going to, if he'll do it.
Oh, because he'll do it.
He's a character.
He is a character, yeah.
He's a character. I mean, he's a true character.
He has no filter. And so, you don't know what you be careful what you ask for.
but the thing is, it's great. And one of my favorite things about John is he is the number one Martina McBride fan.
Yeah, he is.
I mean, he really is. It's crazy. It's so beautiful. Your partnership.
Yeah.
The music business is tough on marriages, People know that.
Yeah.
And you guys, I'm knocking wood, but have had a successful family and marriage, and you work together. It's really great.
Well, it's like you and Amy.
You know what I think? If you find someone that you value, you will treat them right.
That's right. That's right.
If you have someone you don't really value, you may not treat them the way you need to. It's just that simple.
Yeah.
I couldn't do better than her,
She's amazing.
She is amazing. And you know what? Truthfully, I would not have had the career that I've had, or whatever it is, without her. I just wasn't that kind of a forward business person, more introverted.
Yeah. I feel that way about John. That's kind of how I feel about our partnership too is, I always had a lot, big dreams, obviously. And, it was my decision to move to Nashville. But when I said, I want to move to Nashville, he's like, okay, let's go. Right. And he had his own business, a sound company in Kansas, and moved, uprooted all of that. We didn't know anybody here. And just he's always up for anything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it takes that kind of positivity and passion and energy and that kind of support, because I could have just as easily been married to somebody who was like, I'm not moving to Nashville. My whole life is here. You know what I mean? What are you talking about? And that would have been, I wouldn't have had the same career, I don't think, if I hadn't have had someone who was just, let's do it. Sure.
Yeah, totally supportive.
Yeah.
And I think things are better now in that department, but Amy had girlfriends back in the day, and you probably did too, that married dudes who just didn't want them to be in the music business.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And there were several of those girls that left, and they were amazing. And it's just like, wow.
Yeah.
I think for Daena's generation, their mouth would fall open if that could happen. But it did happen.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. So you and John moved from Nashville. You were married. Mm-hmm. You guys worked together in Wichita. Mm-hmm. You moved together, and he got hired on the Garth tour. Mm-hmm. Was it because of his sound company that he hooked up with Garth?
So he moved to sound company here, as I said, and he went out and ran sound. Garth was the opener, Clint Black was the middle act, and Ricky Van Shelton, I think, was the headliner.
Okay.
And so he just came home. I'll never forget, I was at my parents' house, and he came home. We were living here, but we were back home visiting. because the shows were in Oklahoma. And he came to my parents' house and was raving about this Garth Brooks guy. He's like, you cannot believe it. He's climbing on the speakers. It's like a rock show. It's amazing. And so, John being the exuberant person he is, he really connected with that energy. And so he spoke to Garth at the shows and said, we just moved to Nashville. I have a warehouse. If you guys ever need a place to rehearse, you can come rehearse for free. And they just started a friendship. And Garth did come rehearse at the warehouse and then hired John as his production manager when he went out and started headlining. And he told John, if when I can afford to carry sound, I'll hire your company. So he did. And then promptly outgrew the sound company that John had. Right. So John had to, grow the company. So really Garth was the reason that he was able to do that and then able to sell it to Clair Brothers many years later. But yeah.
Fantastic. So he's working with Garth. Now, I've read, and I don't know if we've ever talked about it, but I read, so did you go on some of those tours and help and like sell merch?
I did. I sold merch, yeah. So we were basically newlyweds. We'd only been married a year and a half, and he was all of a sudden gone all the time. And I was waiting tables and singing demos. I didn't really know anybody. I was young too. I was like 22 and or 23, maybe barely. And so I was like, I don't love this. Like, I want to be with you. Like, is there anything I can do on the road, like for a job? And so he went to the merch guy and asked if I could come sell t-shirts. And I did that for like 7 or 8 months while we were still making demos and trying to get a record deal.
It's fantastic. Did you learn anything during those, like watching all that happen?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, just the way Garth, treated his fans, and there's a work ethic that is really strong. And, he's from Oklahoma. I'm from Kansas. We kind of have the same work ethic. I think he recognized that in me as well, which is why he gave me the opening spot on his tour the next year. So I went out and opened 77 shows as a nobody. I mean, when I did my first show in Denver, Colorado, opening for Garth, I don't even think my single was out yet. I think it was maybe barely out, but nobody knew who I was. And he didn't even really know that I could sing or perform. Like, it was a total leap of faith.
Wow. Wow.
So, yeah.
And you got your record deal. Mm-hmm. Was Joe Galani, was he your first guy that signed you?
No, Josh Leo.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Joe came back. Joe was in New York.
That's right.
And he came back shortly, maybe a year or two into it.
Right.
Yeah.
But a big stretch of your career, Joe Galani was your guy.
Yes.
And you guys always seem to have a great relationship.
We did. We still do. Yeah.
Yeah. He's great, man.
He is great. He was amazing for me. I don't know if every artist would say the same thing, but I think they would. Like, he came to a show one time of mine, and he said after the show, he's like, when I watch your show, like, it's so you. Like, every song feels so authentic and so you. And I said, Joe, that's because you never ever tried to control what I recorded. You never said, no, that song's too serious. No, we can't do that. It was like, you let me be me as an artist. You let me record whatever I wanted. And he was always so supportive of those big, like Concrete Angel.
Right.
All those big, serious, Independence Day, Broken Wing, all of those. He was never, ever did he shy away from that. As a matter of fact, when we recorded the Greatest Hits record, we put 4 new songs on there. And it was coming out in the summer, in June, and he wanted Concrete Angel to be the first single. And I said, Joe, I don't know about that. It's like, it's a really heavy song and it's summertime, and I don't know, maybe we should go with something else first. And he, said, okay, but he just never shied away from that side of me and really encouraged me to be an artist and believed in me. That's so valuable.
Yes. And just to put a point on it, unusual, record companies tend to want you to record lighter, up-tempo, fun things that are easy for radio to digest. Mm-hmm. Those songs you're listing are challenging. Challenging emotions, Independence Day, it's a tough situation. And it is unusual for a guy like Joe to be not like okay with it, but pushing it.
Yeah, I know.
It's really great.
And, I wouldn't have had the career that I have without that. I would have, if I just wouldn't have the career that I had. So yeah, he was when you said earlier about valuing people and how you treat people, like I always felt valued there with him. So it was a great gift.
When you were making the first records, I want to talk to you about the song pitching process, because we have a lot of writers that listen and a lot of new writers. And I know they're going to be curious, like what your process is when people bring you material, or like, do you get a lot of song pitches, and do you like to hear a lot of songs when you're making a record, or how does that work for you?
Yeah,
in general?
I love to hear a lot of songs. I listen to hundreds of songs for each album, and usually it's an immediate impression. Like, you know, I'll hear it and go, oh yeah, I want to record that song. It's a combination. I mean, I like to have lyrics that say something. But also then, you know, it has to be a great melody too. It has to be a great song. Right. And that's subjective. You know, songs are subjective. Some people love songs that I don't like, and vice versa. So but at the end of the day, that's what makes you an artist, you know, what you're drawn to and what you choose to record. But when I was working with Paul Worley, it was cassette tapes back then.
Yeah,
and we would call it
I remember. I remember.
We would call it our sack of songs, and we'd have sack of songs, and we'd just listen to them one after the other, and we played this game called Smash or Trash, and it would be like, is this a smash or is this trash? And no song is trash, but I mean, we had reverence for the song.
No, you're saying you're going to trash it. You're going to throw it. You're not. It's not for you.
That's right. We're going to throw it in the trash. So we would just listen, and usually it's like, within a verse and the first chorus, you just know.
Right.
Whether it's going to work for you or is something that you're passionate about or drawn to. So yeah, but I love to listen to a lot of songs.
That's great. And I get it. A song sort of just hits you. And if it hits you right, then you're interested.
Yes.
And then you're interested and you dig in a little further. Like, okay, are we covering ground I've already covered? Is this good? Is this pushing me in the right direction? I think a lot of younger writers can also try to pitch an artist something right where they are or what they just did.
Oh, yeah.
Not thinking that artists, you know, as an artist, you have to grow.
Yeah.
As a writer, you have to grow. So to me, it's always, you're trying to pitch them somewhere they might be going.
That's so smart. Yeah.
Not where they are. And this idea, when I first moved here, there was a lot of this, and you were a demo singer at some point. They will come in and get somebody to sing just like the person.
Oh.
You're pitching a song with someone doing a sing-alike of the singer. It's probably going to irritate them more than anything. Put a great singer on it. That's what you want to do.
A singer that can sell the song.
Yes.
Because you know as well as I do, sometimes you get a demo that's a great demo.
Yep.
And you get in to record it and you're like
right.
There's no song here.
Right.
It was just a great demo.
It happens all the time.
Yeah.
And there are also demos that are terrible demos and great songs.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge, I think. For me, if I were ever producing something, I would do it this way. I'm like, if I'm wondering if this is a hit, it's not.
Yeah.
Like somebody pitched me What Hurts the Most for the Mark Wills project before Rascal Flatts cut it. My first reaction was, you are telling me I can have that. You're saying I can have that song.
Yeah.
That
right.
was the reaction I had to that song.
Yeah, I have to have that song.
I have to.
Yeah.
And in my car, I'm calling, trying to get a recording studio, knowing that it's going to get taken, you know?
Right.
That's the difference between like, it might be a hit. I don't know. Is it good? I don't know. Do you like it? Do you like it?
Right, exactly. And you know what? We always want to have a quota of hits on a record, but I don't listen for just hits. Like,
right.
I flesh out a record, right? So I love, like, some of my favorite things that I've ever done are album cuts that probably a lot of people won't ever hear, you know?
Right.
But I love finding a great song, regardless of whether it sounds like a hit on the radio or not, right? So I always tried to, you know, when you hear one of those, when you hear My Baby Loves Me, or you go, that's a hit. I want that. And I love what it says and I love it. So I want to record it. And then then sometimes it's fun to hear a song. You go, they're never going to play that. That's never going to get played on the radio, but I love it.
Yeah.
Right.
And you can also be wrong because you can think, it'll never do it. We're going to do it anyway. And then all of a sudden it does get played on the radio.
True.
I've seen that happen too. It's like, wow, okay.
Yeah. I love the idea of songwriters writing not for a hit. I know that's how the songwriters make their money, and I understand it. I get it. I totally get it. But there's something about getting in a room and magic happening, and you might go, well, this might not be a hit, but it's, you know what I mean?
Yes.
I love that idea, and I think sometimes young songwriters are trying to write a hit, obviously.
Yep.
But you have to let that magic happen sometimes too when you're in a room and writing a song.
100% agree. I think that magic is so rare that it's ridiculous to try to think that you're going to corral it into even a genre.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Much less a tempo. That's not how that works.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful, so rare, and so special. You just have to let it come in the room and just get it in the jar.
Yeah.
Pray you get it in.
Yes.
And then let the chips fall where they may.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mistake people make, and that's why you have the career you have. You cut great songs, and you're a great singer, and you gave your fans substance. Mm-hmm. Like you said, a whole record, and when they come see you live, a true great singer, and fantastic, wonderful material. That's what people want. It's not that. It's such a simple formula. You'd be surprised why they don't follow it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And maybe they don't have the singers, they're rare. People like you are rare, that level. I read something this morning that I didn't know. I got to ask you. In the 80s, you had like was it a new wave band? Would you call it that? A cover band you were in?
It was a rock band.
Rock band.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
I love that. I bet you were amazing at that.
I sang Heart.
Yeah.
Journey. Pat Benatar, of course.
Of course.
That little new wave record not little record, but the Linda Ronstadt, How Do I Make You, and those kind of songs. And it was like a rock band. Yeah.
Yeah. Are there any recordings in existence of that?
I just found one the other day on a cassette. I haven't listened to it yet, but yes.
Oh, that's got to be amazing.
I was 17, 18 years old, had just graduated from high school, and all of the band were older guys, and not older like 50, but older like 25. And so we traveled around in a van that had a hole in the floor. We played rock clubs, so it was a kind of I had come from a really small town. It was a bit of a fast existence for me for a minute, but I wouldn't trade it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And you get experience.
Yeah.
But you grew up as a country person, probably listening to or did you listen to everything when you were growing up?
When I was small, my dad had a country band as a hobby. So it was all country music. Like he was not really, he loved Elvis and Etta James. And my mom loved more like Moon River and Que Sera Sera. Mm-hmm. So there was some of that stuff. But then when I got to be a teenager, and I had older brothers, I had an older brother and an older sister who listened to pop radio. So when I get in their car, it'd be like my older brother was like CCR. He was into like rock bands, like CCR, like Molly Hatchet, like all. And my older sister was into more pop music. So I'd get in her car and it'd be like Casey Kasem and like whatever was on the top 40. And so I started listening to pop music, and then I got turned on to like Pat Benatar. I would go home every day after school and just put on my Pat Benatar records and just try my hardest to hit those notes and have that vibrato and have that power. And her and Linda Ronstadt were probably the two, people that I listened to the most at that time, and Wilson. So
totally makes sense because you do have that power. So you worked on that, and
I do. I think it was like, because that little town, we didn't have any such thing as vocal lessons, right? So I think that was really just listening and trying to be those singers is how I developed my voice.
That's crazy. That's great. It completely makes sense. Don't go away. Pitch List will be right back after the break. This episode of Pitch List is brought to you by Screened Threads. Telling a story is what Screened Threads does every day. Screened Threads is a family-owned business specializing in Nashville curated gifts. Thoughtfully crafted and simple designs set Screened Threads apart. Check them out online at screenedthreads.com or visit them in person at Marathon Village, located at 1200 Clinton Street, Suite 38 in Nashville. To get 10% off your purchase, use the promo code PitchList online at screenedthreads.com or in person at their store by mentioning Pitch List Podcast when you check out. I want to shift gears.
Okay.
So at some point, and I don't know when you started, but I started hearing about it, and actually Amy and I a couple times did write with you.
Yeah.
Sometime in the journey there, you started to write songs.
Uh-huh.
Let's talk about that.
Okay.
Do you still write?
So I didn't write songs for a really long time because why would I? I mean, I had all these amazing songwriters at my fingertips. Like I could hear a lot of great songs, and I just never really pictured myself a songwriter. I mean, I did write it a little bit in high school, but like the people that I just mentioned, the people that I looked up to were not really singer-songwriters. They were more, the interpreters. So, like Linda Ronstadt, for example, or Bonnie Raitt or whatever. I mean, I know she writes, but so it wasn't really like ingrained in me that I had to be a songwriter to feel fulfilled as an artist, right? But everybody kept encouraging me to do it.
Right.
And so the Warren brothers,
Yep.
Brett and Brad Warren, were actually on tour with me as my opening act, which was a whole, they're so crazy.
They are
I love
crazy.
them.
They are crazy.
And they came to me they kept wanting to say, let's write. And I was like, I just was like, I don't need to do that. So they brought me a bit of the song Anyway.
Right.
And I said, it was at catering. I'll never forget. I said, that's amazing. I will record that. You go finish it and I will record that. I was cutting a record. And they're like, now I look back, incredibly generously said, no, you have to write it with us. And I was like, oh. So I was like, oh God, okay, fine. I'll write it with you. So we went in a little locker room and hammered out the song in like an hour. And that was my first song that I wrote that made it on an album. And
okay. How did that feel? How did you kind of walk away from that? Like, did it change how you record the song, or how you, when you how you felt about the song that you were a writer? Or
I would say at the beginning, mm-hmm. I would say, every song that I record feels like my song.
Right.
But it is different.
Yeah.
Knowing that you had, like I always say, being able to write the words that I want to say instead of waiting for someone to say the things that I want to say, right? And you do feel a little more, I don't feel more connected to it. I feel proud of it.
Yeah.
It was interesting making the record because we didn't have a demo.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, I knew I wanted it to be this big record, this big sounding, well, I didn't know that actually, but intuitively that's kind of what I wanted to do with it. But really, it was just I just had a singer, like I just had Brett singing it with his guitar. And so that was like the first time that I think that I'd made a record without a real demo, or any roadmap at all.
Right.
So that was challenging for a minute. We were in the studio struggling with it, and I called Brett Warren, and he said, he gave me some direction. Well, how about if you do it like, and I was like, oh my God, that's it. I can't remember what it was now. I'll have to ask him, but yeah.
Wow. Amy used to, when we record demos, one time she pressed the button. It was like a lot of chaos going on because it wasn't going well. She pushes the button. She goes, listen, I don't know any of that music talk, but we need less something and more Aerosmith.
Oh, that's great.
And they were all like, got it, hit red.
Yeah.
And like we had been going back with numbers and, the whole chart for like 5 minutes. She said one thing.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, we got it.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just that reference that it paints the picture. It just clicks into focus.
What are you working on now?
So the pandemic did different things for different people creatively. For me, it was a much needed break. Okay. So a lot of people used it to make new albums and new art. I really just stepped back from it creatively. And I realize now that I kind of that's a muscle that you have to kind of use or you lose it, because I've realized that I've been kind of inert. Like I've had this inertia where I can't really move forward with anything. But it's just now starting to wake back up. And so like I've been thinking about wanting to make like an old time country gospel record for a long time. And kind of how I want to do it is back in my hometown of Sharon, Kansas, there's a church that's a Christian church that I actually, grew up singing in with my dad. And it came up for sale like about 20 years ago for like $5,000. Like,
wow.
I'm with an acre of land. Like
wow.
It was like two. So I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I don't want it to get turned. I don't want it to get torn down.
Right.
And I don't want it to get turned into like a hay barn. So I'm going to really just preserve it. And I want to go back and record the album in that church.
Oh, that's such a great idea.
Yeah.
And do like you said, like an old timey gospel.
Yeah,
like a choir or no, I guess not.
More
like
acoustic. More. I really want it to be more mountainy and kind of like back porchy kind of.
Back porchy.
Yeah.
Love it. I bet it sounds amazing in there.
But yeah, I think so. And I took John in there and I'm like, what do you think? And he's like, oh, these acoustics are great. It's all wood, tons of wood, and so.
Well, plus the vibe.
Yeah.
The vibe. I always used to like Ocean Way Studio too. Not as much as Blackbird. Okay, let's get that straight right now, John. But Ocean Way used to be a church. And I think that's a cool vibe in there.
Yeah.
And it can be part of the sound. I don't know. I think vibes hang in buildings. Like
absolutely.
You go to Europe, some of those old churches, it's like you can feel it, man.
Yeah.
Or the Vatican, you don't have to be Catholic to walk in there and have the hair stand up on the back of your neck.
Yeah.
You can be an atheist and have that happen. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Let's talk, if you want to. You're an incredible interior decorator. Also, chef. But it's really interior decorating, and your style palette is incredible. And I think it's a skill you have that people don't know that really could be showcased. Yeah.
Well, this is an interesting conversation because I have a passion for that. I have a passion for cooking and for, interior design, aesthetics, beauty, whatever you call it. And sometimes I feel like in this, I don't know if it's this country or if it's just this just a thing for human beings everywhere. But I feel like if you start out and you're successful at something, that's how people see you. And I'm the same. Like Kevin Costner has a band, but
right.
He's Kevin Costner, the actor, to me, right? And it's so unfair because we get people aren't. It's like you're not allowed to have more than one career or interest, right?
You can only be successful at one.
Right.
You couldn't possibly be good enough at two.
Exactly. But on tour, I like to do my own hair and makeup.
Really?
And a lot of people don't. But
no.
For me, it's so relaxing, and it's so that period of time before the show that I sort of get into it. I always call it the transformation, from just hanging out on the bus to being on stage. And it's like, for me, it's so relaxing and fun. It's the time when I warm up or listen to music or, whatever. So
it's great. I get it.
Yeah.
It's like a little routine, like a little meditation that transforms from wife, mom, whatever you are, to a business person, and then to be on stage into Martina McBride.
Yeah.
I get that. You're very involved also. I heard this several times, and I don't know if it's true, but I'm going to ask you. With your stage show and your live show, you're a whip cracker. You want that stuff to be right. You're a perfectionist. Is that true?
That would be true.
I love it. I
feel like I'm a super, super easygoing person, and I think when it comes to that stuff, for the most part, and I think the fact that I've got crew members that have been there for 25 years attest to that, and band members that have been there for 25 years. So
exactly.
It's like I don't take no without an explanation very well. I take no with an explanation very well. Like if you can tell me why this isn't going to work or is a bad idea, I listen and I'm like, got it. Next idea. Let's move on.
Yeah.
But if somebody just says, no, I don't want to, we can't do that. And I get the feeling that it's really because they don't want to do it or don't know how to do it and won't take the time to figure out if we can do it or not. That's hard for me to accept.
Mark of a successful person.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't be, it's too competitive, too high level. Mm-hmm. You have to be that way. Mm-hmm. I think you have to.
Yeah.
And there's a way to do it like you do it. Super nice. But Amy's the same way. I think it's even harder on women.
Yeah.
Because there is a culture of men still to this day, like, don't worry, sweetie, just go get on the internet. We'll handle all this gear.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
We'll put an X on the stage.
Yeah. Go do your makeup.
Go do your makeup. Right. And it seems like that's still around a little bit. I think it's harder for women, and Amy's great at it, man. She's very disarming, but she will not take no for an answer, even probably when she should.
I love it, because there are people that just will accept no. Like, they'll accept, and you know, I always say, let me talk to him.
Right.
You know, it's like, sometimes it's just persuasion and just passion. Like, if they see, that comes across as passion to me. Like, you want to work with passionate people.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if someone has a 3-year schedule, well, you know, schedules change.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely.
You know, if y'all were in the middle of a record, and I watched this happen many times, and then we would get word back, well, they've got all their songs, they've got one day to track, and it's closed. Martina Records in the bag, done, move on. Well, somebody slides in Concrete Angel. Or so, I don't know that happened, but one of those songs, and all of a sudden, well, we're cutting that one. Yeah. There's always room for something great. Yeah. There's always room.
How is Amy with deadlines?
Terrible.
Me too. I'm always like, well, that's the deadline. What's the real deadline? Right. And one of my pet peeves is when like somebody will need something by the end of the day on Friday. I'm like, what are they going to do with that over the weekend? Nothing. Right. Okay, so that's 2 more days that I could work on this and get it perfect because I am a perfectionist. And they're gonna demand that it's in at 5 o'clock on Friday, and they're gonna sit on it for 2 days. No, I'm gonna turn it in Monday morning.
Yeah, because it's not gonna matter.
It's not gonna matter. So yeah, I'm always like, what's the real deadline? And then it always gets pushed a couple weeks, sometimes a couple days, sometimes a couple months. But it's like, it takes time. It takes time to do this stuff.
It does, and you have to be open to the flow.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? You got to get in the river of the muse.
Exactly.
You got to get in the river and let go of the bank and go where it wants to go, man. On the songwriting thing, you do it, I'm sure, as making a record.
Of course.
You got to go with it, man.
Sometimes it just takes time. It's like you have to wait for it to happen. Yeah. Yeah.
Have you recorded songs that stayed on your record that you struggled quite a bit to get it the way you wanted it? Has that happened?
Yeah.
Or recut things or that kind of stuff? Oh,
God, yes. Some things are immediate and some things just take some time and work. I mean, Paul Worley tells me that we had, I can't remember which song it was now. What in Wild Angels? It's some song that he swears we cut like 2 or 3 different ways. And I'm like, okay, I don't. Some of the stuff you don't remember, but I Love You, for example, we cut I Love You, and then they wanted it for Runaway Bride, the movie. So John Kolodner and some people, the movie, they came in and they wanted it different. Well, what happened was Stephanie Bentley sang the demo, and she has such a cool voice, but it's small. It's like little. She kind of sang it like a little, like very innocent, right? Little girlish, right? I tried to do that, but and I think they had demoitis. I think they loved the demo so much.
All right.
And so we cut it in Nashville with a studio band. We cut it in Nashville with my road band. I went to New York and cut it with John Leventhal, and I love the record that we made on it. But anyway, they ended up coming back to the first thing that we did, but we had to go that circuit. We had to go around it. Sometimes you have to go around it to settle on what it should be.
Well, and you had other cooks in that kitchen.
Oh yeah.
So you had a lot of, back and forth.
Yeah. And we did we did a country, country version and a more of an AC version. Yeah. And I mean, it's crazy because I love all the versions of it. It's just one of those songs that you really can't mess it up.
Well, and it's just got that thing. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the Hall of Fame. That's a big deal, right?
It is
Your
a big
exhibit
deal.
There. Mm-hmm. When did that go in? This year or last year?
Well, it got postponed, but I think they put it in July. Okay. No, June or July of last year. So it runs till August of this year.
How did that feel to walk into that?
It's amazing. Like, it's kind of on my bucket list. I wanted an exhibit in the Hall of Fame for a long time, and it's not easy to have happen, apparently. So when they said they wanted to do it, I was like, awesome. So interestingly enough, I think you believe in manifestation, and you sort of have to see things.
Yeah, absolutely.
have kept things over the years, thinking in the back of my mind, this would be great for the Hall of Fame exhibit, right? And so I had all this stuff that I did go on a little bit of a search through my garage and my, because have stuff scattered everywhere, and was able to pull it in, and some stuff from my childhood all the way through. And I think they did. I love what they did with it. They came up with the idea of not only showcasing my music career, but how the songs that I've recorded, have meant something to somebody, and it's really well done.
I love what you just said. I got stuck on it. The idea that you along the way saved items for your exhibit.
Yeah.
I just want to sit on that a second for all the aspiring songwriters, including myself, to think about that, man. That is manifesting destiny. That's how it really works. Because as you do that, every time you did that, you were setting your heart on something, and your subconscious or your being, your soul, when you get it fired the right way, man, it'll make shit happen. And I know people call it different things, but that is such a pure example of that. I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it.
Well, yeah, it's powerful. I feel like I always say that people that artists, singers, people that do what we do, that make it to a certain level, I knew that this could happen for me from the time I was 7 years old.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, oh my God, that's never. I mean, the people that think that's never going to happen, guess what? It's never going to happen.
Right.
Because I'd still be in Kansas singing in bars as a hobby, who knows what. But like, you have to see it. You have to know that if I get in the right place at the right time and I get, a couple lucky breaks and I work really, really hard, this could happen for me. And so, yeah, that's another way of manifestation. I think if you talk to any artist that's made it, they say, oh, I always kind of saw myself there. I always saw myself kind of going up the stairs at the CMAs and doing an acceptance speech. I practiced it in the mirror when I was a kid. I think that's a common theme that goes through people that get to a certain level.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The ones I've observed, 100%. They have, and it's just honestly, as a writer, you're working with new artists all the time, and you're evaluating which basket you want to put eggs in. I mean, I don't want to be cold about it, but it's a business.
Yeah.
You only have so much time, so you tend to learn how to sort of evaluate new artists, and you can always see. Amy and I will call it the eye of the tiger, and when you see that, it doesn't matter their skill sets, because number one, people get better.
Yeah.
People get better. That's something people don't think about. But when you see the eye of a tiger, you're like, okay, they're going to do it one way or the other. And yeah, they have to have the right break and they have to be lucky. But over time, you do get lucky. You do get the break. It's just a matter of time. And you have to just wait till you get your chance. But
and keep doing it.
And keep doing it. Right.
Yeah.
Keep spinning it, and then it comes up. But it also goes back to another thing I've learned through Amy, which is belief structure. If you want to change your life, you have to change your belief structure. That's what you're saying. You had the belief structure from age 7 that this was going to exactly what happened, how it was going to happen. That's why it happened.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't
when
it?
When you have the belief structure that it's going to be hard, the one your parents gave you or whoever.
Yeah.
If you can't get that one out of your head or your soul, guess what? Just like you said, it's not going to happen.
Or if you're raised to believe you don't deserve it.
That's the other one.
Because I was always, I will give lots of credit to my parents. They're not perfect, but they did always instill in me that I had something special and that it's like I always tell my daughter, she wants to be an actress. I'm like, somebody's going to make it. It could be, why can't it be you? Right?
We say the same thing.
There's new people come along every so often. It's gonna be somebody. So like that's kind of how I was raised, and it's and I never felt like I didn't. I don't mean deserve it like
no, I understand.
in an egotistical way.
No,
I mean
I
like
know.
you have to feel like you are worthy of that in order to really go for it.
Yeah,
make sense.
And part of being worthy is practicing your ass off.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
Absolutely.
that's where you get the confidence. It's like, how do you get good at writing a song? Write 500 bad ones.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're going to be great, but you'll be better than you were.
Yeah, true.
And we tell our kids, I tell them the same thing. In addition, I'll just say, look, like if one wanted to be, they're doing music, but if they were an actor, I just say, look, here's how it works. You go into the audition and you kick their ass. Yeah. Just mop the floor with them. They'll hire you.
Yeah. Be undeniable.
Be undeniable. That's how it works.
Yep.
Go in there and kill them. They don't care who you are or where you came from.
That's exactly right.
And go write a song that knocks them dead. They don't care.
Yeah.
You could be on death row.
Yeah.
They don't give a shit.
That's right.
It's so hard to find a legitimate hit song. They don't care.
Yeah.
I love that. What about touring? You have anything planned?
We're touring.
Oh, you're doing that?
Yeah, we're touring now. We're touring mostly weekends. And finally, after 30 years, and I think the pandemic helped me with this, is I'm building in some time off. So like I used to just go out every weekend pretty much. But now like I have May off. And I'm embracing that because it gives you a window where you can focus on other things or just rest or whatever it is that you need to do. So, but yeah, we're out touring.
That's great. How was it after the pandemic? Like when you first got back out there?
It's better now. Like we did our first shows in July, and I think everybody was a little bit like, is this a good idea? Like,
right.
This last weekend we went out. Of course, they were shows that had been rescheduled a couple times, and people had waited 2 years, but they were just amazing. Like just that love and positivity that flowed from that crowd was unbelievable. So I think people are starting to relax a little bit. I think it's hard to be enthusiastic when you're still a little nervous, like in the crowd. Should I be here? And there's still people that aren't coming, that have a ticket, you know what I mean? But it's tricky. It's for everybody sees it differently.
Sure.
But what I was trying to say is I think that all of us have gotten used to being at home, being contained, cooking, whatever it is.
Yep.
And it's nice.
It's fantastic.
So it's really hard. When I look out there in the audience and I see people that showed up, I'm like, damn, like this wasn't an easy decision.
No.
They're here because they really, really, really want to be here.
Yeah. I think I have a couple other. Do you have time for a few more questions? Your first record, you made a record at a radio station?
Yeah. I was 16.
Oh, Your Cheating Heart.
Yeah. Song called Hello, Love, Goodbye, which was a Rita Coolidge song.
Was that like the B-side? Did they make you a little 45?
I think that might be the A-side and Your Cheating Heart was the B-side.
Okay.
Yeah, we made a little 45. It's in the Hall of Fame. I saved it.
Oh,
saved
fantastic.
a few copies. Yeah, I won a contest, and the prize was you got to go into a local studio with a local band and cut 2 songs. So
did you all ever transfer to tape and just like take the 45?
Oh yeah, into Pro Tools
or
something?
Yeah.
I need to do that.
Yeah.
I need to do that with a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Martina McBride, I could talk to you all day.
Me too.
And I could
talk to you all day. I couldn't talk to me all day, but I could talk to you all day.
So thank you for being on our show. Really.
Thanks for having me.
I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I've been a fan forever and feel privileged to have gotten to know you through the years. And
Thank you, Chris.
I have real respect for you.
Oh, thank
and your
you.
family.
Thank you.
I do.
Right back at you.
Thank you. We'll see you later. This has been Pitch List. Thanks for listening to this episode of Pitch List. If you enjoyed today's show, please subscribe to us on Apple Podcast or your preferred listening platform. And if you want, feel free to leave us a 5-star rating and review. For exclusive content from this week's guest and more, you can visit our website at pitchlistpodcast.com or follow our social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time. So we're talking.
Okay, yes.
Talk a little bit for me.
Talk.
1, 2.
Check,
Martina,
check.
tell me. Martina.
I am Martina McBride.
Okay.